Back we are in Newcastle at Chrysler Arena, the Mars Hall of Fame Basketball Classic, getting set now for game number 2, matching top-ranked undefeated Gary Roosevelt against number 5 undefeated Mount Vernon. And Jim, this shapes up to be a dandy.
Well, this is your classic confrontation of the rural school against
Okay, having some mic problems. Basil, some thoughts from you on this upcoming game?
Well, as Jim was saying, this is the classic confrontation, the small school against the big city school, but you also got the big against the big. Gilpin, it's going to Indiana University, 6'11", against Robinson at 6'9", going to Purdue. So it's IU Purdue also. So it's going to be a real battle. And I've seen Mount Vernon play this year, and they're a very good team.
Okay, we'll have coverage of the Mars Hall of Fame Basketball Classic game number 2 coming up next on the LaCie Broadcasting Network.
We thank you, ladies and gentlemen, for your patience. Are you ready for basketball? And now let's meet the players from these two fine schools. For Gary Roosevelt, number 3, Michael Hudson. From Mount Vernon, number 10, Mike Carter. Gary Roosevelt, number 4, Jeffrey Graham. And for the Marauders, number 12, Jeff Boyle. For the Panthers, number 10, Anthony Abrams. And for the Marauders, number 20, Chris White. From Gary Roosevelt, number 21, Ricky Wedlow. And from Mount Vernon, number 30, John Harvey. For Gary Roosevelt, number 25, Justin Harris. And from Mount Vernon, number 32, Gabe Muttersball. For Gary Roosevelt, number 33, Richard Berry. And for the Marauders, number 42, Mark Barnett. For Gary Roosevelt, number 32, Tyrone Hunter. And for the Marauders, number 44, Lincoln Chappell. And now for the starting lineups of today's game. For the Panthers, at one guard, 5'11" senior, number 23, Darrell Woods. One guard for the Marauders, a 6'1" senior, number 11, Alex Schenk. And the other guard for the Panthers, number 12, a 5'9" senior, Antonio Lee. And the other guard for the Marauders, 5'8" senior, number 13, Roger Huffman. Starting at center for the Panthers, a 6'9" senior, number 13, Glen Robinson. And starting at center for the Marauders, number 50, 6'11" junior, Brian Gilpin. At one forward for the Panthers, a 6'2" senior, number 15, Ryan Harding. And at one forward for the Marauders, a 6'1" junior, number 21, Kevin Browning. At the other forward for the Panthers, a 6'5" senior, number 22, Carlos Floyd. And at the other forward for the Marauders, a 6'8" senior, number 40, Chad Kleine. The coach of the Gary Roosevelt Panthers is Mr. Ronald Heflin, and the coach of the Mount Vernon Marauders, Mr. Jimmy Hell.
And there you are with the lineups. The play-by-play of the Mars Hall of Fame Basketball Classic is up next on the LaCie Broadcasting Network. Bell, Jim Casper, Basil Maubey back with you, getting set for game number 2 of the Hall of Fame Classic. The winner gets Martinsville at 8 o'clock tonight. Gary Roosevelt at 10-0, ranked number 1 in the state, coming off 3 ball games this week already in the Gary Holiday Tournament, winning that, going up against Mount Vernon at 8-0, ranked number 5 in the state. And we are set for basketball. And Jim, what do you think of this one?
Well, you said it, 3 games already this week for the Gary Roosevelt Panthers. I happened to ask Big Glen Robinson just before the game started if that could spell problems for Gary Roosevelt, and he said, no, it's just like practice. We're used to it. We play every day up in the Steel City. So we'll see. It should be a great contest with a 6'11", a 6'8", and a 6'9", all going head-to-head. Lots of tall timber today.
Robinson's not used to looking up, but boy, he stole that tap as he quickly tipped it to a teammate, and Gary Roosevelt will have the first possession now as Antonio Lee with the ball.
2-3 zone by Mount Vernon. They're famous for their 2-3 zone.
There's a shot put up from outside that is no good, and the rebound goes out of bounds. And we got a whistle. A foul will be called. So the first shot of the ball game was off the mark, and it will be.
Nice block out by Browning. That was a key. They're going to have to stay on the boards because I'm sure that Gary Roosevelt's going to hit the boards very hard offensively. Full court press by Gary Roosevelt.
Long down court pass going to Browning, and the shot is blocked, but we had a whistle and a foul called. Robinson made the clean block, but the foul will be called on Gary Roosevelt as the foul called on Ryan Harding, his first.
That basket would have gone in, so that's a legitimate block shot for Glen Robinson. And I don't know how many of our viewers have had a chance to see this young man play, but you're in for a real high-wire act. He is a tremendously talented individual, and he has the best floor demeanor of any player I've seen in a long, long time. The consummate warrior, a very blue-collar type player, and I mean it's a steel hard hat that he wears. There you can see as he goes high above everybody to knock that one into the cheap seats.
Of course, he is headed for Purdue next year as Kevin Browning hits 2 free throws to give Mount Vernon the early lead at 2-0. Marauders are pressing.
2-2-1 by Mount Vernon. They use this and fall back to their 2-3 zone.
Here's a drive down the lane, put up, no good. The shot was missed by Carlos Floyd, and Mount Vernon's Chad Kleine has a rebound.
Robinson was almost there for the follow slam, but the Marauders come out with it.
Here's Browning. Out high they go now to Kleine inside Gilpin. Nice little spin move, and it rimmed out. Jeffrey Graham with a rebound. Down court to Darrell Woods.
They're just daring the guards to shoot. There must be the three-point shooter, number 12.
They like to push it inside, but the shot was missed, and the rebound goes out of bounds, so it'll be Mount Vernon ball. Gary Roosevelt not able to hit early from outside. Mount Vernon leads it 2-0. Huffman, the point guard for Mount Vernon. Kevin, a 5'8" senior. Gary going man. Huffman gets it away to Shank. Shank to Browning. Browning's on a drive. Oh, that's a great move.
Beautiful move by Browning. Run the flex offense and came up with a nice screen at the top of the key, and he took it to the basket for a nice field goal. I saw Browning when they played Newcastle, played Mount Vernon, so they do have experience in, playing on this starting floor for the first time. This may be a factor because you get a little different feel out there.
And the steal by Browning, and the subsequent foul will be called on Gary Roosevelt, as this one's whistled on Darrell Woods.
Panthers, number 22, Carlos Floyd, is first.
Checking that are called on Carlos Floyd. His first. We got 6:30 to play here in the first quarter. 4-0 Mount Vernon on 4 straight points by Browning. Huffman beats the press. Mount Vernon concerned about Gary's quickness, but at least so far they've done a nice job against the full court pressure. Huffman picks up the dribble in a tough spot. Outside they go now to Shank.
They're put a good denial on Kleine. Kleine's a very good player at 6'8". We've talked about the big men, Gilpin and Robinson, but Kleine may be the factor because he is 6'8" and gives him 2 really towers for Mount Vernon.
He's their leading scorer. They got it inside. There's Browning again. Misses a reverse layup, and Floyd skies high for the rebound, and the foul will be called on Kevin Browning. So Browning missed a reverse layup inside, then went after the rebound and fouled. 5:59 to play first quarter. 4-0. Mount Vernon on top of Gary Roosevelt. Mount Vernon is outscoring its oppositions by 32 points per ball game. Gary Roosevelt is outscoring its opponents by 22 points per ball game. Both teams are undefeated. Gary at 10-0, Mount Vernon at 8-0. Here's the full court zone press. Here's a big guy, Glen Robinson, slam dunk. Oh my!
I was just ready to say Mount Vernon's press is very effective because they have Gilpin at the back end of it, but Robinson didn't seem to worry much about that. He just took it down for a 2-hand slam.
He started that jump just inside the foul line and just floated to the bucket and jammed it home, and now a travel back the other way on Mount Vernon. That has to shake you up a little bit, Coach, doesn't it?
Yeah, I thought Gilpin might block it, but I don't think he could get up into that second atmosphere up in there.
5:37 to play, first quarter, 4-2. Mount Vernon on top of Gary Roosevelt, but the Panthers moments ago getting a thunderous slam dunk from one Glen Robinson. Here's Jeffrey Graham to Lee, back to Graham. Wide open 10-footer is good. They're giving Gary that outside shot, and Jeffrey Graham connected to tie up the ball game now at 4. Roger Huffman into the front court. Kleine is really having a tough time getting the basketball. Carlos Floyd has overplayed Chad Kleine, who's averaging over 21 points per ball game for Mount Vernon, and denial defense. And here's a ball knocked away and out of bounds. It still belongs to Mount Vernon.
Well, look at him go up right above Gilpin. That's 6'11" that he went over right there. So I think he'll be ready for the Big Ten next year when he gets there, because there won't be too many taller than Gilpin at 6'11".
6'9", Glen Robinson scoring over 6'11", Brian Gilpin. Looks like Gary has gone into a trapping type of defense now. And Brownie makes a nice save. Shank.
Here's his
Kleine.
shot, left-hander.
Put up an air ball. Gilpin rebound. No, Robinson with a
Robinson's
rebound.
going coast to coast, it looks like. Nice feed.
There's Floyd. Shot.
There's Kleine.
The Twin Towers of Mount Vernon. 6'11", Brian Gilpin. He's got a bunch of blocks on the air. And Chad Kleine, the other member of that Twin Tower tandem, just blocked his first shot today. Graham fires from long range. No.
Carlos Floyd is a real rebounder, but that time he got caught over the back. He's a real man inside there also. So we've got some real size inside on that underneath the basket.
So the foul called on Carlos Floyd. That'll be his second. We're tied at 4 with 4:38 to play first quarter. If you missed the first game, boy, you missed a great finish. Martinsville won on a shot with 2 seconds left by Bob Denton, 60-58 over Southport, coming from a 17-point second half deficit. And now here's a turnover on Mount Vernon, not able to get the ball in 5 seconds. Graham, boy, he's not shy from firing from out, but not able to hit again.
I'm sure Mount Vernon will be very happy to see that ball going up from outside, especially if they keep missing, because they certainly don't want it to go inside to Glen Robinson.
Shank going deep right corner to Kleine. He's headed to Bradley University next year. Nice stop.
He's a very good player, very good player. Bradley's got a good one right there.
6-4, Mount Vernon on top of Gary Roosevelt. Inbounds pass going to big Glen Robinson. Jeffrey Graham down the near sidelines in the front court.
Still in that packed-in 2-3 zone. You know, as you can see, there's 3 guys back there watching Robinson and Floyd, and the 2 guards are watching the 3 outside guys. So they're going to give them that outside shot right there.
Good ball movement, but the shot missed from outside, and Brian Gilpin has a rebound for Mount Vernon. Doing a good job of limiting the Panthers to only 1 shot down court, and that's the strength of Gary Roosevelt, their offensive rebounding.
Well, they've got 3 defensive rebounders inside on the 2 offensive rebounders, and I think that's a big advantage that they're seeing right now. There's the quickness.
Huffman has his pass intercepted.
And the fast break
down court to Floyd for the life is good. Great transition basketball there by Gary Roosevelt, getting the steal and converting into a quick fast break bucket by Carlos Floyd. The ball game tied at 6 with 3:20 to play first quarter.
Couldn't pack it in that time. They were down there before Gilpin and Kleine could get there, and I'm sure that's going to be a big part of Gary Roosevelt's game plan, try to keep running the fast break.
Shank for 3, that's no good. Rebound Floyd. Glen Robinson out in front now, leading the fast break, and a pull-up jump shot good. Big guy showing he can go outside to score as well. As he banged home about a 12-footer from the right side.
Well, Shank's a 43% three-point shooter, you know, so as soon as he got one, he put it up. But I'm sure those long shots will rebound long, and that could really help Gary Roosevelt's fast break. Gary
leads by 2, and here's a turnover now as Huffman threw the ball. Now the official changes his mind. They will give it to Mount Vernon, but it looks like we're going to get a timeout now to be called with 2 minutes and 45 seconds to play here in the first quarter. It's Gary Roosevelt 8, Mount Vernon 6, and our coverage of the Hall of Fame Basketball Classic continues on the LaCie Broadcasting Network. It's 8-6, as you see, with Gary Roosevelt on top of Mount Vernon by 2 points. We have 2 minutes and 45 seconds to play in our opening quarter. Game number 2 of the 14th Annual Hall of Fame Basketball Classic from Newcastle's Chrysler Arena.
1-3-1 trap right now, but Gary, they had them in trouble the other time they ran this, and they went right into the trap and didn't have the outlet pass. So Gary, after the timeout, came with their 1-3-1 trap again.
Big play there by Jeffrey Graham to tie up Mount Vernon, but on the alternating possession, the ball belongs to Mount Vernon. Here's Browning coming inbounds to Huffman.
Stayed with their 1-3-1. Let's see how Mount Vernon attacks this. Here comes the trap.
Long cross-court pass, Kleine. Shank inside Gilpin, not expecting that pass. And it goes out of bounds, and it was last touched by Mount Vernon. First substitution now is Mike Carter will check in the Mount Vernon lineup, and going out will be Alex Shank.
Carter enters the game for Mount Vernon.
Well, Gilpin, you know, was going to take the feed there. Shank just turned down a three-pointer right there, and so I'm not sure. Against the 1-3-1 zone, you get a lot of three-point opportunities, and Shank is their only really outstanding shooter, so I'm sure they'll have to come back with him if they want to exploit that three-point play. Still packed underneath. The 2 guards guarding the 3 perimeter, and 3 guys guarding Robinson and Floyd underneath.
Here's Lee with a nice move, and the leader that's up and in.
Number 12, Antonio Lee.
So Lee with his first 2 points is now giving Gary Roosevelt a 4-point lead at 10-6 with exactly 2 to play here in the first quarter.
Back to the man-to-man now after the field goal.
Using Carter to bring the ball up the floor. Deep left corner to Browning. Nice dish off to Gilpin, and he hits for the baseline.
That was a nice recovery. It was kind of a hard pass, and he recovered and got that thing in. And I think Gilpin's just got to be an outstanding player. Indiana University, I think, made a real find here because he's, been young, and he didn't score a lot last year as a sophomore, but he's committed now as a junior, and they're going to have a great player down at Indiana University.
Here's an attempted slam dunk off the baseline by Carlos Floyd. A quick jumper. He really got up in the air in a hurry. Missed the dunk, but drew the foul. And the foul inside called on Brian Gilpin. That'll be his first and team foul number 2. Gilpin, as a sophomore last year, averaged only about 5 points per ball game, but has improved considerably on the offensive end of the floor. Came into play today, averaging about 12.5 points per ball game on 59% shooting from the floor.
I think he's still growing, too. He's a 6'11 now, and I expect him to be a legitimate 7-footer when he gets to Indiana University. You can see he's going to challenge right here, and it looks like he gets over there to take the charge. Now when he goes up pretty straight, and, it's a tough call. He's right up at the top right there, so he's a real dominant force inside.
Floyd, the second leading scorer on the ball club, hits 2 free throws to make it now a 12-8 Gary Roosevelt 4-point lead. And here's the ball knocked right up to us again. Been a busy place over here today.
They went to their zone press that time and tried to trap right away with Carlos Floyd. Now they're dropping back to their man-to-man. So a lot of variety of defenses by Coach Heflin. He's got a lot of things he's doing here, and I'm sure he's trying to get these Roosevelt Panthers ready to go down to that state tournament later in the year.
One player we haven't seen so far is Ryan Harding, who's the team's 3rd leading scorer. Here's Browning taking it right to Robinson, and there's the intimidation factor. And here's Robinson on the other end, scoring. Great play at both ends of the floor by the big 6'9 center, Glen Robinson. He's got 6.
Nice touch also. That was a 8-foot shot probably, and he put it up there awfully soft.
Considered a co-favorite for Mr. Basketball Honors along with Brebuff's Alan Henderson. Here's a pass, alley-oop inside, thrown away, but a whistle to foul now will be called.
That's good defense by Glen Robinson. He fronted Gilpin and made him throw the lob pass, and Gary Roosevelt's weak side defense got over and deflected that, and that was excellent team defense. And Robinson, sometimes when you get a 6'9 player, they're content to play behind and block shots, but he's very aggressive, fronted his man very well there, and made the turnover almost happen.
Darrell Woods picks up the foul. That's his first.
I'm sure Jimmy Howell's thinking right now, I hope I can keep my big men in there because he does have a great tandem down underneath.
And it is team foul number 5, which means Mt Vernon, nearly a 70% foul shooting ball club on the year, is in the 1-1 as Roger Huffman goes to the stripe. Huffman has yet to score today, averages 10.9, 77% free throw shooter on the year.
Well, he's a nice little point guard. Gary's got the quick guards, but Huffman, he's been against quick people before, and I thought he did a nice job bringing the ball down against them when they went man-to-man.
Mount Vernon's played a game here at Newcastle this year. They beat the Trojans early on in the season by 2 points, and Huffman hits again from the line.
In that game, they really hounded him there, also impressed him, and Little Fox, the guard from Newcastle, is very quick also, and he handled the ball very well, and obviously that's a big key for them to be able to get the ball down so they can get it into Kleine and Gilpin.
Of course, as our viewers can see too, Basil, different type of floor, this tartan surface, and how tough is it on a ball club that's never played here before?
Well, we played here when I was coached at Connersville and now since I've been at Kokomo, and the kids have a little unfamiliarity with it, but they kind of like it because you get pretty good spring, and they like to come out here early and get some dunks in early because you get pretty good spring off of it.
The ovation coming from behind us from the Mount Vernon section following a Gilpin block on Robinson, and here's Glen completely surrounded inside, but a foul will be called on Mount Vernon.
They had 3 men on him that time, and he still caught it, and they tried to deflect it. I think they might have been better off just to let him try to take it up. Gilpin playing behind him on that zone defense. I think it would have been a pretty tough shot. Yeah, that's a pretty close call right there. Probably brought it forward just a little too much.
33 seconds to play first quarter, 14-10. Gary Roosevelt on top of Mount Vernon by 4. The winner will get to Martinsville at 8 o'clock tonight. The Artesians staying undefeated on a bucket by Bob Denton that beat Southport by 2 points, 60-58. Here's Graham left wide open, and he's not shy, but he rimmed in and out on that shot.
Yeah, they brought Chris White in, and he gets a rebound in his first seconds of play, so that was a key play for him right then, because that's going to be the thing. Offensive rebounds are a big part of Gary Roosevelt's game. That, their offensive fast break. So I think if they can control those two things, that'll be a big factor in Mount Vernon being successful.
Here's Gilpin with a turnaround.
Mighty nice play, mighty nice.
Pretty turnaround by the big junior, Brian Gilpin. Makes it a 14-12 game, and the buzzer sounds ending the first quarter. Gary does not get a shot away. So after one, Gary Roosevelt 14, Mount Vernon 12. Our coverage of the Mars Hall of Fame Basketball Classic continues on the LaCie Broadcasting Network. Okay, back to the action we go now. The second quarter underway, and here's an outside shot that is put up and in by Darrell Woods, who is considered one of the team's better outside shooters at a guard position. He leads the guards in scoring out of the year. Of course, Gary gets most of their scoring out of the starting front line of Floyd, Harding, and Robinson, but Woods connects from outside. His first two in the ball game makes it a 16-12 lead now. Here's Huffman, ball stripped loose, but it rolls right to Kleine, who drives shot blocked by Robinson. And now the steal by Robinson.
He may go. Nice pass. He's coming for the tip if it's there.
Driving layup by Ryan Harding is no good, but a whistle to foul called is on Mount Vernon. The foul called on Chris White. And going to the free throw line will be Ryan Harding now for two shots. So Harding sat out the first quarter. Team's third leading scorers in there now. 7:23 to play first half. 16-12. Gary Roosevelt on top of Mount Vernon by 4 points. And Ryan Harding goes to the line now for two.
Well, that's another breakaway. You know, they get it off a transition. They're awfully good coming down the court quickly. Oh, he tried to take the charge. He may have slid just a little bit, but that's the toughest call. I wouldn't want to be an official, mainly because of that call right there.
Harding hits 1 out of 2 from the line. Makes it a 5-point Gary lead at 17-12, and there's a full court press, double team, and the ball knocked away and out of bounds.
Well, that's their, after a free throw, they've been coming with a trapping defense instead of their man-to-man, but they still put a lot of pressure on you, and they decided to throw over, which is a good idea.
White with the basketball, and I think Jim's back with us. We've had some mic problems, and Jim, welcome back.
No, it's been a great game watching these big giants go at each other. I think Gilpin is going to gain a lot of confidence going head-to-head with Glen Robinson, having a block shot and a turnaround jump shot fall for him. That's real important for the youngster.
Chad Kleine just picked up the charging foul. Kleine trying to create, took it strong to the bucket, penetrating down the lane, but leaned in and commits the charge. It'll be his first, team foul number 4. So the ball goes over now to Gary Roosevelt. Panthers by 5 with 7:02 to play first half.
Here comes their zone press, and Gary just looks for Glen Robinson in the middle and then breaks it off of him. You know, that's an awful good press breaker.
Robinson misses and may have come over the back going after his own rebound. What great athletic ability he's got there.
Well, and you see no argument out of the young man. That's what I'm saying, Greg. You can watch a lot of basketball, and there's a lot of talented players across the country, but a lot of them are prima donnas. A lot of them think they can do no wrong. Glen Robinson is a consummate basketball player on the court in terms of his attitude on the court. I never cease to be amazed at how he keeps his composure in all kinds of situations.
I think that's the first time he's probably had to adjust his jump shot. He got there and all of a sudden to 6'11", and he put a little different arch on it. So he'll get adjusted. I'm sure it's going to be a battle down low.
Gilpin misses the front end of the 1-and-1. Well, Gary Roosevelt has not had a Mr. Basketball since 1955. Wilson Eisen, and they got a good shot at it this year, although Brebeuf feels they got a pretty good one in one. Alan Henderson.
Well, that was a great basketball team. That was about the first team I can remember with Wilson Eisen and Dick Barnett, two really great players, and led Roosevelt to a runner-up to the great Crispus Attucks team of Oscar Robertson. And being a left-hander myself, Dick Barnett was kind of my hero. Boy, could he play, and he played for the Knicks for a long time.
Carlos Floyd missed an offensive rebound bucket and then traveled, and Chris White has the ball now. Mount Vernon with the basketball, trailing by 5 with 6:20 to play first half. Both teams undefeated.
Here comes the flex on the other side. Now they run it under, and here comes Kleine for the jumper. They missed him. There he is.
Good defense by Carlos Floyd. And Kleine, though, turned, got the advantage and stuck it in.
Well, he stayed with it, and that's exactly what you're supposed to do. He is probably the best pure shooter on the floor, even though he's 6'8". The Roosevelt guards are not particularly good shooters.
Kleine shoots 64% from the floor. And now back at the other end, we got a charging foul going to be called on Gary.
Coach Knight will be loving that. He likes somebody inside that's not afraid to take the punishment. And Gilpin just stood there and took the charge right there. And that's a play you have to play when you play good defense. You've got to sometimes take the charge. Even when you're 6'11", and he obviously could have blocked that shot, but sometimes it's much safer to not get the foul called by taking the charge.
Woods picked up the charge. That's his second. A non-possession foul, which means that Mount Vernon will shoot the 1-and-1. Gilpin's back up there. Free throw good this time. He's got 5. He shoots 63% from the line.
Well, whether you're an IU fan or a Purdue fan, you've got to be pretty pleased with what you've seen so far. Brian Gilpin, just barely past the midway point of his high school career, has looked very good today, in my opinion. And of course, Glen Robinson, everybody knows, is quite possibly the finest high school senior in the nation.
Mount Vernon has pulled to within 1 now with 4 straight points. Here's another outside shot, and it's no good by Woods, and Gilpin with a rebound.
That's impressive. He's going up against Glen Robinson, and he snared that bound.
A nice play there by the team, because White blocked out Robinson, and that let Gilpin wide open for the rebound. And that's what they're playing, those 3 men underneath. So one guy blocks out Robinson, and that leaves Gilpin usually free to go get the ball. So it's a good team defense that Coach Howell's got planned for the Gary Roosevelt Panthers.
Ricky Wedlow pressuring the ball. They get it down inside, and we got a whistle now. Underneath the bucket was Mike Carter, and that was a tough spot against the big trees inside, and he traveled.
I think I'd have felt the same way right there. You got Glen Robinson coming after you, and you're 5'9", you know it's going to get swatted, so he wanted to move his feet a little too many times.
Robinson going outside to Wedlow. Woods.
You see, they're surrounding Glen Robinson. Now they got Kleine blocking him out. Gilpin and White go up for the ball.
That's Ryan Harding who missed that jump shot. He is the best shooter on the Roosevelt team, unless you want to talk about Glen Robinson, who might in fact be the best shooter, best dribbler, best rebounder, best everything for Gary Roosevelt.
He obviously can play anywhere. I really like him when he gets the ball in the middle of that press offense. He can really handle it and dribble it and do a lot of things.
A 2-3 zone for Mount Vernon. Within 10 feet of the basket, they are giving Gary anything.
That's
and now
Robinson.
away from the ball.
That's a good call by the referee, as one of the little water bug guards for Coach Jimmy Howell tripped him up just down there kind of in the way, and Glenn ran over him. Good call by the official.
Jimmy Howell has done a great job at Mount Vernon, his 10th year as head coach. His school of a little over 700 for the top 4 grades. They're going up against much larger schools here today. They had a 20-win season last year, sectional champs, lost to Newcastle, championship game in the Newcastle Regional, and went to the semi-state in Indianapolis back in '88, so he's had a lot of success.
And there he is on the bench, shouting instructions to his troops. They're doing a nice job here against the #1 team in the state of Indiana, as that free throw there would have tied the game.
Well, the free throws have kind of hurt them. They need to hit the free throws. Every team does, but obviously when you're playing the #1 team in the state, you can't let them get away too many free ones. They're not even playing at 15 feet. They're playing at about 8 feet on everybody.
Robinson with a quick release on a post move inside. Missed the shot, but the whistle, the foul was called on Gilpin, and on Brian now, that's his second.
Yeah, and Ryan Harding passed up the outside shot from about 12 feet that time, so it looks to me, if you read the eyes, that maybe he's losing a little confidence. There's Ron Heflin. Boy, you talk about a veteran mentor. Up in Lake County, he is just one of the finest that's ever coached. His team's always disciplined, under control. He plays by the book. He's a man of integrity. He's been a head coach of the Indiana High School All-Stars. Just done a tremendous job at Gary Roosevelt High School, a school that has much tradition, a very proud and tradition-rich institution indeed, Gary Roosevelt.
15th year running the Panther program. Nearly won the state back in the early 80s, but who can forget that marvelous championship game between Gary and Plymouth? As a free throw was hit by Glen Robinson, makes it a 19-16 ball game.
Without Scott Skiles, they might have won it in 1982, but I don't think anybody was going to deny him, and I'm sure happy that he's doing well in the pros here the last month since he's been starting for Orlando. So that was a great team that Coach Heflin brought down there in 1982.
Some good work inside. First a nice block by Robinson, a missed shot, rebound Floyd. We got 4 minutes to play here in the second quarter. A 3-point Gary Roosevelt lead at 19-16.
There was a double screen for Glen Robinson coming off the baseline, and a nice touch from that 15-foot range.
A rare miss for Robinson. He shoots about 60% from the floor on the year.
Well, this flex offense is a great offense against a man-to-man defense because it really keeps everybody cutting and moving, and you have to fight a million screens, and it's one of Coach Howell's favorite offenses.
Well, and that's the first bad shot we've seen for Bryan. He's got to shake that off and do it right away, or else he'll lose his confidence.
Woods can't hit from out, but there's Robinson. Great move inside. Got it. Basket counts and a foul.
Terrific move. Glen Robinson showing his ability to snake the body. Great body control. He really has every skill in the book that you can talk about. He's a great athlete. He's very quick. He plays smart. He plays hard. He comes out every night to play. He's consistent. Just a tremendous combination of physical gifts and hard work ethic to go along with it.
That was a big play right there. That third foul on Gilpin really changes the defensive strategy now. Now they'll have to move Kleine to the middle, and that leaves their forwards who have to do a lot of the rebounding, only 5'11". So I think that is a really big play for them to get that third foul on Gilpin early.
So Brian Gilpin on the bench with 3 personal fouls and 6 points. They lose 10 inches on the substitution. Shank in, Gilpin out. We got a timeout on the floor. 3:26 to play first half. 22-16. Gary Roosevelt on top. Back with more of the Hall of Fame Classic on the LaCie Broadcasting Network. And back we are here in Newcastle. Beautiful Chrysler Arena. Seats over 9,000. 22-16. Gary Roosevelt on top of Mount Vernon. What a game in the first contest earlier today. Martinsville beat Southport by a deuce, 60-58. Back to the action we go in this one now. It'll be Mount Vernon basketball. Gary pressing.
He went to their man-to-man press again, and Robinson decided not to come down, so he's a little mismatched in size right now. The guy he's guarding is only 5'11" and 6 foot. Big three by Mount Vernon.
Roger Huffman just stuck a 3 from outside. Mount Vernon played with a very small lineup. Boyle is on the floor now. They got 4 guards and Kleine on the court right now.
Well, in 3 minutes, they've got to weather a Gary attack for 3 minutes, and they'll be safely into the locker room for halftime.
Big rebound.
Wedlow can't hit, but Shank comes down with a big rebound for Mount Vernon.
Well, they still got Kleine in there, and that's a pretty good anchor at 6'8", you know, and also he's strong also.
White picked up the dribble, steal, conversion the other way, layup good by Jeffrey Graham.
Can't make the turnover like that.
It usually results in a 2-pointer the other way. They're so quick on their transition game going from defense to offense as Graham with 4 in the contest. A 5-point, 24-19 Gary lead, 2:28 to play first half.
Coach Howell just told the player, you know, he said, hey, when you're in trouble, don't throw a chance pass. Throw it off their knee out of bounds, you know, because anytime you throw that turnover, it's going to be a transition basket for him.
Robinson can't hit from the baseline. Rebound taken down. Jeff Boyle. Huffman's going to try another 3. This time it's off the mark. The rebound lost out of bounds by Robinson. It belongs to Mount Vernon.
Kleine's fighting the boards, trying to make up for the loss of Gilpin, but it's a big chore underneath that basket for him right now.
Yeah, the third best Marauder player, who is Kevin Browning, also not in the ball game.
Yeah, beautiful out-of-bounds play. They run the first cutter right at Robinson and came in right behind with Kleine, and an excellent play by Mount Vernon.
Kleine has 6. Back the other way. Floyd up in the air. No good, but a charge. Called on Carlos Floyd. That's his 3rd. And Chad Kleine took the charge. He held his ground. It's tough to do when you got a great jumper like Floyd who tried to jump over him, but he made the contact and commits the foul.
Well, it looks like he hurt his leg also, so hopefully he'll be able to come back here in second half. He's in foul trouble, and they're still leaving him in, but he's really limping right now. Nice taking the charge by Kleine, you know. I tell you, we work on that every day in practice, or nearly every day, and I tell you, that's a hard play when you see a guy at 200 pounds coming at you, and you know it's going to put you right on the floor, so it's a tough play. Floyd's hurting. He
really is. I think he's going to come out now.
Yes.
Substitution now. Richard Berry will check in the game, and Carlos Floyd goes out. 1:53 to play first half, 24-21. Gary Roosevelt leads by 3. Here's a long down-court pass.
Contact. Little contact.
Well, no call. And now a traveling violation back the other way on Gary.
It was a tough play right there, but I guess they didn't think he could catch it.
Mount Vernon from Fortville in Hancock County, not all that far away, and now a whistle. And play getting rough away from the basketball as Huffman went down, and a foul will be called on Gary.
Got a 1-on-1 this time. Huffman's a gutty little player. I really like to see a player like that out there. He's only 5'8", but he gives it all he has, hit the big 3, and then he took the nice charge there on that out of bounds. he was the one setting the screen, and Gary had, instead of switching it, they just decided to go over it, and he went to the floor, and the official called it.
Ball called on Antonio Lee. Jim, we talked about tempo in the first game, and I think this low score has to favor Mount Vernon in this one, doesn't it?
No, I thought maybe Coach Jimmy Howell would come into the game and deliberately keep it a low-scoring affair, but I think he came out pretty much and played toe-to-toe with Gary from the beginning, obviously, with Gilpin and Browning not in the contest now. You know, he wants as few possessions up and down the court in his last 1 minute and 48 seconds as possible.
Gilpin has 3 fouls. Browning has 2. They're on the Mount Vernon bench. Huffman having a big second quarter. He hits 2 free throws.
Still coming with the press, you know. They're not going to give in to them. They're going to come with their game. It looks like they may have a trap right here.
Mount Vernon to within 1. There's another turnover.
Good call, Greg. You spotted it about the same time that the official did. Excellent call.
They're only averaging 13 turnovers per game to 18 for their opponents, so it's good pressure defense right there by Mount Vernon.
Darrell Woods turns it over. Mount Vernon now with a chance to take the lead.
Back
with
to
a
the
minute 35 to play.
zone, Greg. Back to the 1-3-1. Got the corners open in the top right there for that 3, either side or in the corners.
Shot put up and good.
Looking for.
Bucket by Chris White.
You called it, Basil.
Chris White nailed the outside jump shot. Mount Vernon by 1.
Oh, he got away with one.
You always hear Dick Vitale talk about that diagonal pass. That's what they used, the diagonal pass from one corner to the other, and got the 3-pointer just about in the corner.
Tough shot from out, put
nice
up and
play.
in. Antonio Lee double clutching and firing one up and in from just behind the foul line.
Now, Jimmy Howell will give them that shot all day long. I guarantee you that the Gary guards, in fact, all the Gary players outside of Ryan Harding are not real good shooters.
He's trying to decide whether to go for the last shot or not. He's looking it over right now.
What Mount Vernon has done well today, they made the guards shoot the basketball. The guards have put up an awful lot of shots. Kleine from way out. Good rebound.
Nice rebound.
Now a foul called on Mount Vernon.
45 seconds to go. Coach Howell is contemplating whether to go for the last shot. He decided to go early, but I think he'll get another possession right now to go back and see and hopefully take the lead at the end of the half.
Mount Vernon playing with a lineup of Kleine at 6'8", but then 6'1", 5'8", 5'9", 5'8", and 6'1". So you talk about a very small lineup in there for Mount Vernon down the stretch here in the second quarter.
There's Harding. He's an 82% free throw shooter. He's going to hit those free throws down to likes that 15-foot mark.
Jim, where'd you say he's going?
Ryan is a Division I prospect, or he's a signee, actually, Florida. 3 Division I signees playing on this Panther ball club.
28-25, the Panthers by 3. There's an errant inbounds pass, and it's intercepted by Gary. Lee with the ball.
Coach Heflin just called last shot. Going to go the last 30 seconds, and but Carlo, I didn't know whether he might not have heard him right there. It looked like Lee was going to let her fly. Wonder what kind of play they're going to set up here in this last 17 seconds. I would say somehow Glen Robinson might touch it off a screen down here on the baseline. Now they're just going to bring it down and let him try to throw it into him. There he comes off the screen.
With
now
8, with 7.
Harding and then back.
Here's a long one in the air. No good by Woods, but Robinson rebound. No good as the buzzer sounds ending the first half of action.
Great first half.
So after one half of play, it's 28-25. Gary Roosevelt on top of Mount Vernon by 3. And we'll be back with our halftime activities. The March Hall of Fame Basketball Classic on the Let's See Broadcasting Network. Again, 28-25. Gary Roosevelt on top of Mount Vernon by 3 points. And guys, let's take a look at the halftime stats now. And what are some of the things that you see that stand out?
One thing that will not be reflected in the statistics is the fact that I really think Gary Roosevelt stopped going to Glen Robinson, which was a big key. There you can see the Marauders are less than 33% at 7-22, and the Panthers a little bit better at 10 out of 27. 3-point shots inconsequential. Free throws 8 for 9. Nice job by Gary Roosevelt. 8 for 10. Not bad for Jimmy Howell's Marauders. Turnovers 3 more for Mount Vernon. That surprises me. I would have thought that the Panthers, who like to push it, might have a few extra turnovers. Not so. And rebounds very close, and it figured to be that way.
Take a look at the individual scoring now. We got Glen Robinson with 11 for Gary, and Huffman leading Mount Vernon with 7 points. Gilpin and Kleine right behind though with 6 points apiece. Basil, from a coaching standpoint, what do you think for half number 2? Any major changes?
Well, I think Gary's just going to keep coming out, putting more and more pressure. You know, they have to get this game at 84 feet in a much quicker pace than what we're seeing right now. So I expect that. And then I think Jimmy Howe's just going to keep running those good screens. And I expect him to see that 1-3-1. And he's going to have to hit that three-pointer from the corners and the top of the key.
Again, Martinsville is resting right now because they'll get the winner at 8 o'clock tonight for the championship. We'll be on the air with that one at 8 p.m. this evening as the Artesians beat Southport 60-58 earlier today on a bucket with 2 seconds left by Bob Denton, who had 18 second-half points. He ended up with 20 on the day. Ryan Wolf led Martinsville with 24. In a losing effort, Southport got 18 from Marlon Fleming. So the Cardinals come back at 6 o'clock tonight and play the loser of this one in the consolation game.
No, I think the same thing can be said about Southport. I really think in the second half they stopped going to Marlon Fleming. Almost entirely in the fourth quarter. And also in this game, I think Glen Robinson, who touched the ball very often early in the first quarter, had that one monster dunk and was quite active with the ball, simply was not receiving it from the other players. We'll see if the Panthers get the ball more to Glen in the third quarter here.
Well, here's the 1-3-1 zone, just as we expected, and now they're going to have to see if they can shoot this corner shot. They're going to trap him. There's a diagonal pass over there for the 3.
Great control there by Huffman. He got it to Browning, who rimmed out on the 15-footer.
Great shot. Browning should be well rested. He was in foul trouble a lot the first half, and he should be ready to go. He's had a sore leg, and he didn't play much when I scouted him against Newcastle, and whether that leg's bothering him today or not, but he looked like he winced a little bit there when he went down.
Another outside shot for Gary, and that one's not going to go by Woods, but they got the offensive rebound. Another bomb is in the air, and that one's no good by Ryan Harding.
They chose not to start Gilpin the second half, which is kind of surprising, but with 3 fouls, I think Coach Howell wants to use him later in the game.
Huffman, pass goes right between the legs of Browning along the baseline and out of bounds. So Carlos Floyd in the ball game for Gary Roosevelt, playing with 3 personal fouls, but Mount Vernon's elected to keep their big guy Brian Gilpin on the bench with his 3.
Well, Browning's only got 2 fouls, so he'll be a little bit more aggressive, and with Kleine in there and Browning, that should help him on the boards, because those are 2 excellent rebounders also. Browning's blocking out right now on Floyd, and that was a big part of that rebound, because Floyd would have mashed that thing back in if he'd had a chance.
Jim, another outside shot that does not go for Gary Roosevelt.
They are not a good shooting team. In fact, they're weak overall at guard. They don't have a point guard in my estimation, not a true one. As Kleine takes big Glen Robinson to school with a pretty move to his left in the lane. And boy, that's very impressive. You hope that Kleine maybe can find his offensive touch. It was missing in the first half.
Another trick defense by Jimmy Howe. He went to a 1-3 zone with the man-to-man guarding Glen Robinson, and that also will keep Glen Robinson off the bench. But Jimmy Howe's a master of mixing his defenses, and he came out with a little trick there at the start of the second half.
Darrell Woods finally got one to go, but Kleine tried to answer, not able to hit that shot. Tight rims here in Newcastle. There's been a lot of shots that have gone in and out so far today. And that outside shot rolls in and give the bucket again to Darrell Woods.
Now, the Panthers really miss big George Butler, their 6'3" swingman, who was ruled ineligible by the IHSAA. George was 10 days over the age limit. He had a heart murmur as a 4th grader, missed an entire year of school due to that illness, which was well documented. Gary Roosevelt appealed, but the IHSAA stuck by their guns, and George is now playing in the state of Maine at Maine Central Institute.
Great move inside by Kevin Browning to score off the glass.
Floyd didn't want to get that 3rd foul. That was the key there. Floyd would have rejected that, but he didn't want to get his 4th foul.
32-29. Gary leads by 3 with 5:30 to play in the third quarter. Boy, Butler was a bull inside, too. Speaking of a bull inside, Glen Robinson goes strong to the bucket. Chad Kleine picks up the foul on Kleine. That'll be his second, and Robinson for 2 free throws.
Jimmy Hell not happy, although I kind of think you have to do that to Glen at some point, especially early to open up the second half. Let him know you're there. Kleine's a 6'8" player, and I think a foul like that can sometimes be good, because Glen will think twice the next time before he goes in there.
Again, Gary Roosevelt played 1 game on Wednesday and 2 games on Thursday, then came down to Newcastle yesterday, so it's been a very busy week for the ball club.
There we see big Glen Robinson putting it on the floor one time, then up strong, and there's Chad Kleine, who just hacks him and sends big Glen to the free throw line.
And Robinson hitting his free throws. He hits 2 more here in the third quarter to give Gary a 5-point advantage. Robinson came in averaging about 27 per ball game. He's at 13 now, and Huffman got trapped, and good heads-up play there, throwing it off the foot of a Panther and out of bounds.
I mentioned George Butler. Of course, he's a Division I player also. George will be going to Lamar University. But the nation's top freshman was also supposed to enroll at Gary Roosevelt this year. Tunji Thurman, a point guard, 5'11", ranked as the #1 freshman in the United States. Born and raised in Gary, but elected to play for Hales Franciscan High School in Chicago.
Kleine got it away from Robinson and scored inside. Kleine's in double figures with 10. He averages 21.
Kleine's got a big body. He's got awful strong shoulders, and when he positions, there was that box and helper. 20 is just face guarding Robinson everywhere he goes.
3 players all around Glen Robinson there, but over-aggressive inside, and the foul was whistled on Kevin Browning. On Browning now, that'll be his 3rd.
We saw that a lot the last couple of seasons with Eric Montross at Lawrence North. Every time the big guy would touch the ball inside, it was just as if people caved in on him, and he really couldn't even move.
Harding can't hit from out, and the rebound taken down by Kleine, who is quickly fouled on the play by Darrell Woods, who has just picked up his 3rd.
Coach Hal just called over number 20, and he said, now you don't even worry about the ball. Just face guard Robinson everywhere he goes. So just watch it the next time down and see if he just takes right in his face everywhere all over the court.
Here's a long down-court pass. Browning behind the defense all the way. Layup, no good.
Nice try. You've got to really like that. It's the second time that the Marauders have displayed that floor-length pass.
Harding not able to hit again from out. Rebound taken down by Floyd. He was fouled, and the foul whistled on Ellis Shank. That'll be his 1st. 4:37 to play, 3rd quarter, 34-31. A low-scoring second game. That's the way our first game started out, very low-scoring, but it really picked up in that 4th and final quarter when Martinsville made its comeback, coming back from 17 points down to edge Southport by 2, 60-58. Both these teams came in averaging close to 80 points per ball game, and that's one of the reasons why.
Well, we've gone through almost 4 minutes in this 3rd quarter, and that's really the first time that Glen's been given the ball in a position down low where he can turn and pop it.
Back the other way. Kleine, great fake on Robinson in the air.
Beautiful move.
Boy, I'll tell you, Bradley got a steal in this kid. Chad Kleine, just an excellent player, and he's very deserving of his Division I scholarship.
Outside shot by Lee is no good. He got his own rebound and puts it up and in. He missed the easier shot and double clutched and fired one in off the glass and hit the tougher shot, and Antonio Lee has 6 points. 38-33, the lead's at 5 for Gary. Huffman fouled from behind.
Huffman putting a little shake and bake on Lee there, and
I like Huffman. He's a heady little player, isn't he? Gutsy kid, only 5'8". Played a lot of basketball for Jimmy Howell and Mount Vernon over the last 3 years. Browning getting set to inbound, but we got a timeout call now with 3:50 to play, 3rd quarter. Gary Roosevelt leads by 5, 38-33, and we'll be back with more of our coverage coming up on the LaCie. Yes, the big question now is how long will Coach Howell keep Ryan Gilpin out of the game with 3 personals?
No, I guess he figures as long as his Marauders can stay within range, keep him on the bench. And they're staying within range largely because of plays like that from the left-hander Chad Kleine.
8 third-quarter points, 14 in the game.
Same out-of-bounds play, 2 lay-ins. I'm going to try to put that in next week, Greg, so look for it.
Harding can't hit from out. That zone defense continuing to collapse inside, giving Gary anything outside of 10 feet.
Well, he can't buy a basket, and Glen Robinson, a 6'9" All-Americans inside. Get it to him, and he'll probably put it in for you.
Kleine working for the shot. Oh, beautiful.
Well, he's gaining some confidence now. He did not have a good first half, I think just 6 points, and he's scored 25, 30 points a game this year for Jimmy Howell, but he's really getting his confidence here in the 3rd quarter.
There's a shot from out, put up and in. Pretty shot by Darrell Woods. He's been their most successful outside shooter today. That's his 4th field goal from out. He's got 8 points.
Glen Robinson kind of cleared him out that time. Number 20 went about 20 feet at times, so watch for something inside right now.
Boy, I'd want to get it to Kleine. He's my man right now.
They've switched to a 2-3 zone
2-3
right
zone now. Kleine hurt him inside, so they've gone to a 2-3 zone, trying to shut down the inside play, and quick hands and a steal. 2-on-1. Lee and Harris inside layup, good. Give the bucket to Darrell Woods with the left hand off a pretty feed from Lee. Again, a quick steal, and how many times have they done it today, converting back at the other end?
Absolutely, and you got to think now, will Ryan Gilpin make his entry before too long?
Kleine got the ball inside, and they called a double dribble violation. Jimmy Howell can't believe the call. His pen went flying out of his pocket.
I think we need a replay on that one, Jimmy thinks.
Well, he looked like he was catapulted out of his chair that time. Disagreed, needless to say, with that call, but nonetheless, it'll stand, and the Panthers could go up by 7.
Antonio Lee takes it to the hole, but can't hit the shot. So with 2:05 to play third quarter, Mount Vernon has the ball down by 5.
That was a beautiful feed by Browning down low to Kleine. Looked like it was a nice post move, but he must have dribbled when he caught it. I didn't catch that.
Here's Huffman in the lane to Browning.
There's
Good
the
hook
three.
pass to Shank. Shank inside to Kleine. That's what they wanted, but Kleine sealed off by Robinson and has his pass knocked away. But Huffman. There's Browning again. Good defense by Gary Roosevelt.
Absolutely. Boy, Browning does some awfully nice things when he gets that ball in the middle. Kleine a little bit too confident putting up that right hand.
Tried a right-hander that time.
Yeah.
Hit the side of the board, but got his own rebound. Shank. Huffman.
There's
Shank.
the three. He's their three-point shooter, darn.
Floyd
He
rebound to
there.
Big Glen. Here he comes. Look at him handle that ball. What a dish off inside. Layup no good, but Robinson up no, but a foul. He could play point guard on a lot of teams, couldn't he?
Well, you know, Mark Schneider made the comment in our interview during halftime that he really liked Robinson better than Brebuff's Alan Henderson for Mr. Basketball. And Alan's advantage has always been that he's a more versatile player than Glenn. And I think the more you watch this game, if you get out and see Glen Robinson play, you'll see that he's probably every bit as versatile as Alan Henderson. He just doesn't take the ball up the court as much. He stays down underneath and likes to operate inside.
How about Henderson and Brebuff, though? They're still undefeated on the season, and I don't think people thought they were going to be as good as they've turned out to be so far in the year, as Henderson hits again from the line.
Well, let's be honest. They probably belong here in the Hall of Fame Classic.
Yeah.
I think really that was probably the one mistake made by the selection committee. You have all the elements then, the two Mr. Basketball candidates going head-to-head. And don't get me wrong, it's a dead heat for Mr. Basketball right now. In my estimation, it's hard to tell. It's a toss-up who will win it. Both kids very deserving, both kids very accomplished, and Alan Henderson doing a tremendous job in leading Brebuff to an undefeated record.
44-37, minute to play in the quarter. Try to get it inside to Kleine. Floyd knocked it away, and here comes Gary. Long pull-up jump shot way off the mark by Darrell Woods. And Mount Vernon with a rebound. I think Jimmy Howell had the best quote. He said, yeah, Henderson and Brebuff belong here, but if they were here, we probably wouldn't be.
Absolutely. And Jimmy's glad to be here. There's Browning. He's wheeling and dealing.
Nice move.
He does some awfully good things with the basketball. And Jimmy Howell's told me before that kid really idolizes Damon Bailey and that tries to emulate his game after Damon, do some of the little things that Damon does.
One of the few juniors on this Mount Vernon team. He'll be back next year. It's actually all four of the teams are really senior dominated. 19 seconds to play third quarter. Gary Roosevelt on top of Mount Vernon by 5. The Marauders have been able to play the entire third quarter without Brian Gilpin. They have saved him for the fourth and final quarter. And now a whistle away for the basketball. And a foul will be called on Gary.
That's a big foul. Mercy. Carlos Floyd.
Number 4 on Carlos Floyd. Comes with 8 seconds to play in the period.
I was watching underneath there because Glen Robinson was jockeying around in there. I didn't see Floyd do anything, but he must have stuck an elbow out on his screen.
With 5, with 4, Huffman crosses the line. Huffman dish off long. Shot is in there and good. The bucket goes to Chris White. And it's a 2-point bomb from White from the left side. And that's it for 3 quarters. 44-41. Gary leads by 3 after 3. And we'll be back with our 4th and final quarter of the Hall of Fame Basketball Classic on the LaCie Broadcasting Network. Okay, back we are, noisy Chrysler Arena, Newcastle. Fans getting anxious for the 4th and final quarter of this one. 44-41. Gary Roosevelt with the ball and a 3-point lead. Brian Gilpin is back in the ball game.
Switch to a 1-3-1 zone now because they got Gilpin back in. They don't have to play a man straightly on Robinson because they've got the 2 big men in.
Shot for the corner, put up and no good by Woods. Robinson rebound up and in.
Beautiful shot.
He's showing his skills away from the basket a little bit. We know he can dominate inside. Glen's got a very soft touch for such a big kid.
Robinson has 19. Now back the other way as Chad Kleine started his drive down the lane. Reaching in and getting his hand on the basketball was Darrell Woods. And the tie-up will give the basketball to Mount Vernon. Played 30 seconds of the fourth quarter. Inside feed and a whistle. Another foul called on Gary Roosevelt.
Same out of bounds play this time to get a foul, so it's very efficient.
There's Jimmy Hale, the mastermind. And Jim Russell of the Indianapolis News last year had a questionnaire sent around to all 7 counties, coaches in all 7 counties, which touch Marion County, asking their opinion of the best young coach in high school basketball in Indiana. And Jimmy Hale was the overwhelming winner in that survey conducted by Jim Russell of the Indianapolis News, so very well respected among his peers.
Great out-of-bounds play. They got Kleine open behind Gilpin, and he popped home a 10-footer in the lane.
They've been scissoring him in. This time, Gilpin just went right into Robinson. They threw it over his head. Nice out of bounds when you got 6'11 and 6'8, so those are kind of key factors in that play.
Kleine has 18, but Harding answers right back with an outside jumper, his first field goal in the game.
He finally hit one. Ryan, normally a good shooter. All last year, he was the 2 guard for Gary Roosevelt. George Butler played down on the 3 spot, and all that the Panthers needed was a point guard, but this year he's had trouble finding consistently hitting that jump shot.
Gary Roosevelt by 5, 48-43, 6:50 left. Shot put up from out, hanging on the lip of the rim and off, and the rebound, Glen Robinson. So the number 1 ranked Panthers have a 5-point lead and the basketball. Check their stamina here in the fourth quarter, though it hasn't been a real fast-paced game. Remember, they've already played 3 games this week. Another shot hit from out, and look out, Harding seems to be in the flow of it right now.
That's what we saw last year out of Ryan Harding. Very reliable jump shooter, and Glen Robinson just gave him a big slap on the behind as if to really warm him up and let him know that he's got to have confidence in that jump shot. They're going to need it this season.
Panthers up by 7. Here's Browning from outside. That's short. Good hustle rebound. Huffman. Shanks open. He'll fire one up and good.
Well, they just won't go away. The Mt Vernon Marauders, a consolidation of Fortville and Vernon Township high schools, sits at a crossroad out in the middle of the corn country. You almost got to see Mt Vernon to believe it. It's a throwback to the days of Hoosiers and Milan, and a very rural community indeed.
There's a big guy inside. Can't hit from 5, and the rebound taken down by Browning. And a whistle, a foul called on Gary Roosevelt as Jeffrey Graham has just picked up the foul. 5:38 left, 50-45. Gary Roosevelt on top of Mount Vernon by 5.
Jeffrey Graham, that's his first.
It'll be Browning. He'll step to the line. Kevin with 8 points. He's really picked up on his scoring. Averaged about 6 per game last year. Is averaging close to 14 per game this year. Started out a little slowly, had an ankle injury, missed a couple of ball games, and hits the free throw.
He does a lot of good things for Mt Vernon. You really kind of want the ball in Kevin Browning's hands when the game's on the line. He can pass it. He looks and sees the floor so well, finds the open man. He can shoot the ball. He's just a real good all-around basketball player.
Hits 1 of 2 free throws. Tyrone Hunter with the goggles is checked in the game for the first time today for Gary. Here's Floyd. He feels it. He fires and finally misses. And the rebound taken down inside. Good job by Shank.
Well, Harding hit 2 in a row and then missed one, so we'll see what happens the next time he puts it up.
Leads at 4 with 5:15 to play. Here's a wide open 3. No good by Shank.
Shank's only got 1 field goal, and he is their big threat, and he's missed 2 or 3 pretty good shots. He could really tighten this game up there with that 3.
So the Panthers control. Left side, Graham to Lee. They leave him wide open, won't take the shot. Goes back to Graham. Floyd swinging right side. There's a shot put up, and that's good. Get the bucket to Jeffrey Graham. He went from baseline to baseline. He started off on the left side, cut all the way across onto the right side. It was wide open for the popper from the right baseline.
Yeah, Glenn wants the ball inside, but he's really being sandwiched in there by the collapsing defense, and I think that it was a good idea not to try to force it into him that time.
4:30 left of the game. Gary Roosevelt with a 6-point lead. Shank wide open. Fires one up. Can't hit it again. And a rebounding foul inside now will be called on Robinson. So Big Glen has just picked up his 3rd. 1-1 coming up for the Marauders with 4:24 left.
There's a good look at him, the senior from Gary Roosevelt High School. Lives right across the street from school. And again, this game is such a classic confrontation of the rural Mt Vernon Marauders and the inner city Gary Roosevelt Panthers. Two teams with real contrast in background. Yet here they are on the same court and bringing fans that really enjoy the game with them. It's just a great thing to see, the diversity in the state of Indiana. The focal point of basketball so often is a unifying force.
Gilpin hits 2. Gary was playing awfully well last year, but ran into one Archie Fuller from Anderson, the Lafayette semi-state, and the Indians beat Gary Roosevelt 84-77 to knock the Panthers out of the tournament last year. 52-48 is a 4-point ball game. Still a lot of time left at 4:10. Here's Harding to Graham, now to Harding. Zone sagging off inside. Harding gonna loop it off inside. There's a shot put up and good. Nice turnaround by Tyrone Hunter. The first shot he's put up in a crucial situation, and he banged it home.
That's an important basket by Tyrone.
It's what you like off the bench, a player to come in and hit the key baskets, and he came in when Carlos Floyd got in foul trouble, and that was a big, big putback.
Ron Heflin does a great job of using his bench. He plays a lot of players strong. Muscle move up and in by Brian Gilpin.
Well, IU fans have got to like that. I'm telling you, Brian Gilpin is right on schedule developmentally. He's going to be a good one.
6'11" and a junior makes it a 4-point ball game. Graham nearly turns it over. Goes, shot put up, Floyd got it again, or Harding I should say. So Ryan Harding has hit 3 fourth-quarter field goals from outside. He's got 9 points, and the lead's up to 6.
Well, after missing that last one, you wonder if he was going to step up, because he turned one down a couple times before. So he got Shanks over here open for 3. Couldn't get it to him.
Trying to get Kleine open at the high post, but Gary has done a nice job of denying him the basketball. Here's Shank. Gilpin calling for it down on the low post. They got a little high-low action, but a 3 by Huffman, no good. And Robinson, oh my, he ripped the rebound away from teammate Ryan Harding. And a timeout going to be called now. So timeout called, 2:48 left in the game. Gary Roosevelt leading Mount Vernon by 6, 56-50. Back with more of our coverage of the Hall of Fame Basketball Classic coming up on the LaCie Broadcasting Network. Been a great day of basketball so far here in Newcastle. We saw Martinsville beat Southport on a winning bucket by Denton, 60-58. This one going right down to the wire as well. With Gary Roosevelt with the ball, Glen Robinson floats inside, tips it up and in.
He played a little volleyball with himself that time.
Robinson with 21, and the Panthers lead by 8, 58-50. Mount Vernon's going to need someone to get hot from outside. It looks like here's an inside feed to Kleine. Can't hit, though. Got his rebound. Up and in. Basket counts and a foul. Kleine has 20. Good hustle after his own rebound. Got the rebound after his miss. Laid it up and in, and also the foul was called.
Foul was on number 32, Gary Roosevelt.
2:23 left. 58-52. Gary Roosevelt leading by 6 points.
Here, we'll take a look at Chad Kleine. He's headed to Bradley, and the left-hander can shoot the ball very well. You can see him there as he missed, but got his own rebound and could go for a 3-point play here if he makes the free throw.
Free throw up, no good off the back of the rim, but the rebound is batted right out to Kleine. So Mount Vernon now with a good chance. They've already scored 2 on this possession. They're down by 6. Shank, Kleine, short jumper, good. 22 for Kleine. They got 4 in that trip down court, a very profitable one. Robinson went way up to haul in that inbounds pass. 2 minutes left of the game. 58-54. Leads at 4 for Gary. Just to beat the 10 ball. Knocked away, stolen. 2-on-1. Pass kicked away and out of bounds. Good defense by Antonio Lee.
Browning with the steal that time for the Marauders, and it looks like we're in for another tight one. 4-point contest. Mount Vernon with the ball. They could close to within 2 here. What a great afternoon of basketball so far.
One of the few times Martinsville led the entire game of the first game was at the final buzzer, and the Mount Vernon team hasn't led too much in this one. They're down by 4 with 1:50 left. They got the basketball. Browning has his pass knocked away and stolen. Floyd made the big defensive play there.
You got to protect the ball, and that was just a good defensive play, as you mentioned.
Floyd with 4 fouls had just checked back in the ball game, and his presence felt immediately with the deflected pass inside. See how Gary plays it out with 1:28 to go. They lead by 4. And a whistle
deflection there. Got him on the foul.
Foul called.
Jimmy Howell's going to call for a timeout just before this free throw is attempted, as he's signaled to the bench, and you can see he's going to wait until number 12 for Gary Roosevelt, Lee.
Antonio Lee getting set to get the basketball from the official. Jimmy Howell comes walking out on the court and gets the timeout. 1:25 left, 58-54. Gary Roosevelt on top of Mount Vernon by 4. You look at Gary's free throw shooting, has been suspect in the past. This year, about a 66% foul shooting team. They like to have Ryan Harding, Glen Robinson, and Jeffrey Graham. There's their 3 big guns at the foul line.
Well, they shot well in the first half, but that may mean that the law of averages says that in the second half they're not going to shoot so well. If I'm Jimmy Howell, I put him on the line. There's a look here at the number of Division I players we've got on the floor during the Hall of Fame Classic in Newcastle today. Carlos Floyd from Roosevelt and Ryan Harding, as we mentioned, going to Idaho State and Central Florida, respectively. Robinson, of course, a big recruit for Gene Cady of Purdue. Chad Kleine headed to Bradley. Brian Gilpin's going to be a Hoosier, although he's just a junior right now. Wolf, could it be Minnesota? Denton will play football somewhere. Chris Werburn, maybe Utah. And Marlon Fleming looks like a junior college player unless he can get the SAT up. I would love to see him play in the Big Ten eventually someday.
I'll take any of those 5 and take my chances with that team.
Absolutely.
58-54, a 4-point Gary Roosevelt lead. Great teams, great individual players showcased today, and a great day of basketball from Newcastle. The 14th annual Hall of Fame Basketball Classic. Here's a 1-and-1. Free throw no good. The rebound, though. Good hustle by Gary to come up with a bound. Again, it's at Carlos Floyd. Spread the court. Robinson. Free throw line, Lee. Outside they go now to Woods. Long cross-court pass. 1:05 left. Gary Roosevelt with the ball. 4-point lead. Mount Vernon trying to catch up with the ball, but Gary doing a nice job. Here's Glen Robinson. Got a whistle. Foul called. He'll clear the line for a 1-and-1. He's a 71% foul shooter, and he's been dead-eye from that stripe in today's game.
Well, we're down to crunch time, and Big Glen is going to have to hit his free throws. 57 seconds to go, and he could stretch it to a 6-point lead for Gary Roosevelt if he connects here on both tries.
Jimmy's going to try to ice him again, it looks like.
Panthers haven't been involved in many close games this year. They did open up the season with an overtime win over Andrean, but they're in a close one here today, and there's the timeout called now by Jimmy Howell. That worked the first time, and he's going to see if it'll work the second time.
He doesn't miss a trick, does he?
So 57 seconds left, 58-54. Gary Roosevelt by 4. Remember, the consolation game will be played at 6 o'clock tonight here in Newcastle. We know one of the teams, Southport, will play the loser of this one, and then the championship game at 8 p.m. this evening. Martinsville gets the winner of this one. Could it be number 1 against number 2? It's only happened 12 times previously where number 1 has played number 2, and they are split right down the middle at 6 apiece. The last time it happened was back in '88, the state championship game, when Chandler Thompson and Muncie Central beat Sean Kemp and his Concord Ball Club in the '88 state title game. And we take a look at some of the Hall of Fame champions from the past.
Yeah, starting with Gary Emerson in '77 and ending with Michigan City Rogers in '83. Continuing on to last year's champion, which was, of course, Lawrence North. Right. And, well, you talk about that Concord team. Unbelievable that Sean Kemp was not Mr. Basketball that year. I am still trying to figure out how in the world that didn't happen. I saw he had 31 points and 10 rebounds the other night for Seattle in the NBA.
Yeah, he's wiping up in the NBA, isn't he?
Woody Austin, who won Mr. Basketball, is at Purdue, of course, having a nice
it worked
year,
again.
but won't play next semester.
It worked again as Gary Roosevelt cannot hit the front end of the 1-and-1 after their shooter was iced during the timeout from Mount Vernon. 48 seconds left, the 4-point ball game, and now we get a whistle, and a foul before the shot will be called on Gary. So a 1-and-1 will be coming up for Huffman now with 46 seconds left. And Bezos, we looked at those previous winners for the Hall of Fame Classic. Interesting to note that not one Hall of Fame Classic winner went on and won the state championship that year. That's hard to believe.
Well, it's going to change, certainly. I remember we lost both games in the Hall of Fame in 1988 and went on to be runner-up to Lawrence North. But this isn't always the key to it. But I think eventually you will have a Hall of Fame champion winning the state championship. So I think all these teams better not try to lose so they can eventually win the state championship.
Newcastle last year lost twice. They came back and made it to the Final 8 in the state. Huffman, big free throw. 3-point ball game, 58-55, one possession, 46 seconds left.
We'll take a look here. Huffman going to the bucket. There's going to be a little bit of a bump there, just enough to put him at the line, and hopefully for the Mount Vernon Marauders, he can hit both and does.
It is a 2-point ball game, the closest Mount Vernon has been in ages. Full court press. Oh, Robinson coming down court one-on-one with Gilpin, but going to hold it up now. Get it inside to Leaf. To Woods. To Floyd with 35. 58-56. Gary Roosevelt with the ball and a 2-point lead. And now a whistle and a foul will be called. And Ryan Harding, an 82% foul shooter for Gary, was fouled. So he'll go to the line now for a 1-and-1. And will Jimmy Howell do it one more time?
I don't know. He's looking up at the clock now and analyzing the situation. So we'll see. He's going to do it.
Yep,
absolutely.
He's going to try it. He's 2 for 2 using that strategy.
Ever the sly one.
He always
Jimmy
waits.
Howell.
You see how the player doesn't go in and call it till after they get up there.
There it is. Timeout called. Mount Vernon, 58-56. We're going to keep it right here with 31 seconds left. Don't want to have you miss any of the excitement. A very exciting day here in Newcastle. What a great finish to our first ball game with Southport holding a 17-point lead at one time in the second half of their ball game with Martinsville, only to see the Artesians battle back and win by 2, 60-58. And here in this one, Gary Roosevelt has really been in control, Jim, throughout the entire ball game, although Mount Vernon has not let him get away to too big of a lead.
Well, no, and you know, this could be a situation where the last team that has their hands on the ball wins the ball game. Obviously, Jimmy Howe going for all the percentages, calling timeouts to kind of freeze the Gary free throw shooters, and it's worked so far. We'll see if it continues to.
Coach Howe's called a nice play here. We were able to look in the huddle, and he's got a nice play called. It's going to be the three-pointer if they happen to be down 3, or the 2 if they're down 2. But it's a nice high pick and roll. We used to call Valparaiso from Virgil Sweet set this up in the 60s, and it's still an excellent play for the three-point shot.
Ryan Harding, the man on the spot, the 6'2 senior, will be at the foul line for a 1-and-1. Harding has 9 points in the game. He is 3 for 4 for the foul line in this afternoon's contest. 6 big points here in the fourth quarter. 82% foul shooter on the year. Free throw, good.
Oh, now's the big free throw. This is the one that's big, the 4-point. Make it 2 possessions.
Good point. Right now, the Marauders, of course, could tie with just 1 shot. Harding hits this, and it's going to be really difficult for Jimmy Howe's Marauders.
Next one is good again.
Now I expect him to go for 2 2-point possessions, really, because the 3 is not that valuable. So I expect him to penetrate and look inside, and they don't have to have a 3.
Here's Browning working inside. Nice move, and his shot will not go. Robinson rebounded, a foul called on Browning. So with 20 seconds left, things are looking better now for Gary Roosevelt. The team's #1 ranked team of the state got a scare today from Mount Vernon. But if Glen Robinson can hit these 2 free throws upcoming now, with 20 seconds left in the game, you got to like the Panthers' chances. Browning fouls out.
Kevin Browning's a fine player, and he had a nice play there that just didn't roll in for him. But smartly, he went for the offensive rebound and almost had it. Personal foul, but the clock had to stop right then, so it had to be a foul at that time.
I think if the events of this morning's games have showed us anything, it's how vulnerable the top 2 teams in the state of Indiana really are. I don't know about you guys, but I think both of these teams can and will be beaten during the course of the regular season. Don't get me wrong, they're excellent teams and deserve their rankings, but hey, it's a long season and anybody could end up winning the state title.
Free throw hit by Robinson. Just so much parity these days in high school basketball. Great quality players up and down all over the state.
There you get a look at Glen Robinson snaring the rebound, kind of like Marlon Fleming, and then getting fouled from behind.
Robinson hits again from the line. He's got 23, and Gary Roosevelt by 6, 62-56. They employed full court pressure, and Mount Vernon forced to use up a very valuable timeout as Chad Kleine simply was not able to get the ball in bounds, so he quickly called time.
Yeah, absolutely, and I wonder if that may have been the Marauders' last timeout.
It was. Yeah. So 20 seconds left in regulation, 62-56. Gary Roosevelt by 6, and Mount Vernon base will be taking the ball out of bounds.
You got to take 2 possessions. You got to be 2 threes. So I said that the last game, and he went inside for a 3-pointer from Bob Denton. So, but I still think it'll be a 3-pointer from the outside, and look for Shanks or Browning.
That #3 team there really, I think, it's about time that Jim Hahn won a state title. That #3 team at Concord really is the team that might, in the final analysis, be the one to finally sneak in there and win it. Terre Haute South having an absolutely tremendous season with their Indiana University recruit, Brian Evans. There's Purdue recruit
That's right.
Glen Robinson.
Glen.
But Concord is it's amazing how well they've done the last couple of years. 2 undefeated seasons in the last 3 years. just great basketball being played up there in the Elkhart area.
Well, here we go now with 20 seconds left. Inbounds going to Kleine. Mount Vernon has not had many three-pointers. They need one here. They just threw the ball away. Kleine got airborne. Floyd again made a big defensive play. Since he's come out on the floor with those 4 personal fouls, he's been a valuable man defensively for Gary. And Floyd got the inbounds and a quick foul. And he'll go down the Panther line for a 1-and-1. 13 seconds left. Gary leads by 6, 62-56. And Jim, what's happening? You mentioned that Concord team. What's happening with the Minutemen now? They've been playing without their leading scorer, Jeff Massey. He's out with an injury, so they're getting valuable play out of some other people, but when he comes back now, they're going to be even a better ball club.
Well, Donnie Hackworth has really risen to the occasion for the Minutemen in Massey's absence. I'll tell you something right now. Jeff Massey is the quickest ball player in the state that I have seen. Laterally, he is just absolutely as quick as they come. And Mike Swanson, a very heady floor general, playing the point guard for the Concord Minutemen, and Johnny Moore, very good sophomore. That's a great team. They don't have a real dominating big man. Hey, can you imagine, Greg, if Big Sean Kemp was still up there?
Well, Carlos Floyd makes it a 7-point ball game. I really think his defense turned around this game the last couple of minutes. Second free throw is good again. So Gary Roosevelt by 8 now with 12 seconds left. Here's Huffman down court, needs a 3, shot blocked by Robinson. Rebound tapped out to Kleine. He'll launch a long 3. That's no good. Rebound inside, and we got a whistle, and a foul will be called with 1 second left. 1 second left of the ball game, and Gary up by 8.
Well, this one really wasn't decided until there was about 20 seconds to play, and Kleine threw the ball away. Coming down court, they got out of sync a little bit offensively on that sequence, and yeah, it was a great game for 31 minutes and 40 seconds, and Jimmy Howell's got nothing to hang his head about, and I'm sure he'll tell his troops that they did a fine job here this afternoon, and they're going to learn and be a better club because of it.
Let's give Gary some credit. They've hit their free throws when they needed them in the final minute and a half of play. Floyd hit 2, Harding hit 2, Robinson hit 2, and that's the reason they got that 8-point lead at 64-56 as a free throw is put up and good. Give the point to Gabe Muterspaw, who was just checked in the ball game.
It was a nice call by Coach Heflin. When he went to the man-to-man press, he called them to use their last timeout, and then he also forced the ball into Kleine away from the guards, and he was the one that made a turnover.
So there's your final, 64-58, 64-58. The Panthers of Gary Roosevelt go to 11-0 on the season. We get number 1 against number 2 for the Hall of Fame championship at 8 o'clock tonight as the Panthers win by 6 points over Mt Vernon, 64-58. For Mt Vernon, their first loss in the year, they fall to 8-1. And Jim, some final thoughts from you on this one.
Yeah, I just think it was everything you could ask for in a ball game. I think Gilpin and Kleine have nothing to feel bad about. They went head-to-head with one of the best players in the nation, and they earned some respect. Glen Robinson, obviously a super player.
Basil?
Well, I think, it's going to be a great battle tonight. I'm excited, and I like these holiday tournaments, and I'm really glad to see the Hall of Fame put this over Christmas, and you used to fill them up, and I think there must be almost a full house here today at Newcastle, and I think the people that come back tonight or the people that watch this on WHMB will really enjoy seeing number 1, number 2. 23
for Robinson, 22 for Kleine, 64-58. Gary Roosevelt wins it. We'll be right back on the LaCie Broadcasting Network. Greg Bell, Basil Malby, Jim Casper with you at Chrysler Arena here in Newcastle. The opening round of this year's Hall of Fame Basketball Classic is history. Number 1 and number 2 both advanced to a championship contest coming up at 8 o'clock tonight, but both really had to struggle to win today as Martinsville beat Southport by 2, 60-58. The winning bucket by Denton. Ryan Wolf had 24. They came from 17 back to win that one. Southport had 4 players in double figures, 18 for Fleming, 15 for Von Villigan, 11 points for Courtney, and 10 points for Hemphill. And then in game number 2, Gary Roosevelt led most of the way, although not able to pull away from a scrappy Mount Vernon team, but the Panthers win it by 6 points, 64-58. Glen Robinson had 23 to lead the way. Meanwhile, Chad Kleine, 22 for Mount Vernon. So, Coach sets up a great showdown tonight now.
Well, I think it's going to be a battle of the big men also. I'm going to be interested to see Denton against Robinson inside. Out the guard position, I think, the guards from Gary Roosevelt are sort of small, and I think they're going to see some real good outside shooting from Ryan Wolf also now, because they're going to have to match up with him, and he shoots over people pretty well, so I think that'll be a factor also. I'd say the big man will be the winner, whoever has the battle of the big men inside.
Okay, Jim Casper standing by now to talk with Ron Heflin of Gary Roosevelt, and let's go courtside with Jim.
Thanks, Greg. I'm here with Pat Aikman, who is the game director for the Indiana-Kentucky All-Star Series, sponsored by the Indianapolis Star. And Pat, no doubt this gives you an opportunity to see some of the best players in the state.
It really does. Of course, you know, they always try to find the 4 best teams in the state, and naturally they have a lot of fine players. So it's a good place for me to come and see the talent. You know, both those that we know about and those kids perhaps who are underexposed, kids that you didn't expect to see play. The Kleine kid, for example, at Mt Vernon, had an excellent ball game.
He is a good player at 6'8". He really does some things. He's got a shot at the All-Star team.
You know, I think he's certainly a young man that we'd want to consider. As I said, I had heard about him. I hadn't seen him play, but I certainly think that he gave Glen Robinson all he could handle down in their offense.
Now, a lot of times in many years, I know we've had just a plethora of guards, but this year is a good year for big men. A lot of good quality big men in Indiana this year.
Yeah, I think you're right. It's unfortunate we can't get the talent spread from year to year, so we could get some of those good guards that don't make it onto the team. But yeah, I think you're right. This year is a year for the big men, and we may be scratching for the kind of guards that we need.
Well, Pat, you've done a great job, 5-1 since you took over as a game director, and we wish you 2 more victories again this year.
Well, we won 4 because we have 2 boys games and 2 girls games.
Well, that's going to do it from here. We're going to go to a commercial. Stay tuned. This is LaC Broadcasting Network.
The game's final stats are brought to you by Jim Clark, president of Progressive Retirement Planning Corporation. You can call Jim at 843-0600 or toll free at 1-800-843-0605. And again, we want to thank Jim for sponsoring our stats throughout the ball game, as well as our starting lineups that we hear before each and every contest here at the Hall of Fame Basketball Classic. And we go to the list now, our final stats. And Coach Mulvey, what do you see?
Well, I was very impressed with both teams, and I'd heard the story maybe that Mount Vernon didn't belong, and they belonged. They played very well today. Obviously, the foul trouble early of Gilpin maybe let them get, behind because they were playing very well. But they do have a fine team, and I think when you see the stats from Kleine, he just did a great job. The field goals were pretty even, not much there, and neither team are a three-point shooting team, which is surprising for 2 top 10 teams. I think Roosevelt's only shot less than 3 shots per game from the three-point line, and also Mount Vernon. But both of them also have the 6'10" and 6'9" and 6'8" inside, so I guess that's a reason. But in some games, that three-pointer is a big play, and when it came down to the crunch time, Mount Vernon had a little trouble finding that three-point shooter to put it in when they were down 3. Turnovers, as you can see, the Marauders had a little trouble with the turnovers. 13 turnovers and only 2 for the Panthers there. Rebounding pretty even because both teams have excellent size inside. But I think the big key was that they could come down, took the time, and they didn't have the outside shooter against that 1-3-1 zone.
There's your high scores, and Jim, I don't think a heck of a lot of surprise there with Robinson leading Gary and Kleine on top for Mount Vernon.
Being a little more in the picture for the Panthers, but no, Kleine and Gilpin have been doing it all year for the Marauders.
Well, Floyd did have 9 rebounds, though, Jim, and that was a big key. And as Greg also said, his defense at the end was key also.
So 64-58 in Game 2. It was Gary Roosevelt winning over Mount Vernon. Game number 1, 60-58. Martinsville beats Southport. And, Jim, how do you see tonight's game now?
Well, it's number 1 versus number 2. These guys have a lot to live up to now. Top 2 teams in the state of Indiana going head-to-head on statewide TV. I don't know. I think possibly the cream will rise to the top, and Glen Robinson, perhaps the top player in the state, will be the difference for the Gary Roosevelt Panthers.
So for the 13th time in high school basketball history in the state, number 1 will play number 2 at 8 o'clock this evening here in Newcastle at Chrysler Arena. And again, we'll have complete coverage of the ball game at 8 o'clock this evening. Hope you can tune in then. Again, the final scores of today, 64-58. Gary Roosevelt wins over Mount Vernon. And in game number 1, it was Martinsville on top of Southport by 2, 60-58. I want to thank the Channel 40 crew for the great job they've done today. For Basil Mulvey, Jim Casper, Greg Bell saying goodbye from Newcastle for the time being.